All right, this is my review for Skyfall, which I was able to see last night. And I think a lot of you may be surprised by this, but I absolutely adore, love James Bond. I get so excited anytime that a new one comes out, and I have been giddy and looking forward to this for so many months. I just love James Bond for being, so absolutely shallow, the greatest escapist entertainment you can imagine, perfect, the perfect fantasy for, Americans, American moviegoers. So yeah, I absolutely adore it. And before I get into Skyfall, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about Daniel Craig and what I thought about the previous two films that he starred in. First of all, I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. I think he is exactly, I mean, the perfect example of how to mix, have a more updated, modern, edgy Bond while also maintaining that kind of subtle wit and sexiness that we got from Sean Connery. Sean Connery had much a bigger sense of humor and he was more playful, which is why I think Sean Connery will always be my favorite one. But I would put Daniel Craig right beneath him because he's got just these really steely blue eyes and he's very cold, but he's got this mystique about him. Yet, and he also does have that kind of twinkle in his eye at points. He is still witty, it's just more subtle. So I love him in the film. Or in the films, and I love Casino Royale. That is my favorite, one of my favorite Bond films ever. That is one that just mixed, again, kind of what I was talking about with Daniel Craig. It mixes the modern edge, that they wanted to go for with the new ones, but still had that, that clever kind of sizzling sexiness of the originals. And then Quantum of Solace comes out, and a lot of people did not like Quantum of Solace. I liked it. I don't take these Bond films too seriously, so I like the majority of the ones I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I really enjoyed the film. Now, it has its problems, don't get me wrong, and if you want to, debate, argue with me, I'm not going to, stand my ground too firmly because I do agree that it has its problems. But I think what saved it for me was the relationship between M and Bond. I really like that kind of maternal, that mother-son relationship that the two have together. And I think that's the perfect way to segue into Skyfall because there is a lot of that mother-son relationship between M and James Bond to a much greater extent in this film. What I really, really loved about Skyfall, first of all, yeah, I loved the movie a lot. Up until the last half hour, I was just reveling in how awesome it was. This movie is definitely paying homage to many of the other films. It's, because it is the 50th anniversary. So it is very nostalgic, and that's partially why I like it so much. It does really pay homage to the original films. And, that's what we love so much about James Bond. We love that kind of playfulness, the cleverness of it, and, that really, great sizzling repartee that we get from, Bond and the Bond girl. And it's all just very sexy, and you've got the exotic locations. It's got lots of action. It's classy. It's everything you could possibly want in a Bond film. The beginning completely grabs you, just yanks you forward with this really knockout action sequence, and then you've got the credits, the opening credits, and all the stuff. I mean, it's all the elements that you could want in a Bond film. It's got a wonderful villain, finally. I've kind of missed those really over the top villains that we got in a lot of the earlier films. And this one is played by Javier Bardem. And I love Javier Bardem, who doesn't? He's just a fantastic, fantastic actor. And in this movie, you can really tell he is just having so much fun playing this Bond villain. And I mean, he's just hilarious. He's just so over the top, yet he is kind of chilling and very creepy. And there's a lot of, homoerotic overtones, so I just love it. I loved watching all of that. And yet at the same time, the film is still very modern. It is kind of about computer hackers and things like that. And it still maintains that kind of that grittiness and that edge that we want in a more modern take of Bond films. Now, the thing that kind of set me back a little bit was the final act of the film. And it just kind of sucked all the air and all the energy out of the film for me. It was going so well up to that point. I mean, I could taste the bliss, and then it just kind of, I don't want to say that it just, diminished, but it just kind of grew very, very faint. The reason I did not like the final third, and I'm not going to give away anything because this is, these are major spoilers in the final act, but it just didn't feel like a Bond film at all to me. It was very, I mean, it was much more kind of heavy and just dark, and it lost all of that kind of sexy banter and the cleverness that we want from the Bond film, that we got in the first 2 hours. All of that I was absolutely loving, and then in the final half hour, it decided to go into all this depth about, the origins of Bond, and I really don't want to know that. Part of the what I love about Bond is the mystique behind him. You never know the man behind 007, really. I mean, in terms of his origin, and I love that. I want to keep that a secret. I never want to know too much, and they start going into that, and I just really didn't need it. And I understand what they were going for. I mean, they wanted to, of course, they're playing homage with all the stuff, having the old car back and bringing Q back and other characters that I won't go into. But they wanted to kind of make it, I guess have more pathos in the film and really have it hit home so that it can go on and on in the next films. But it just didn't work for me. Now some people it's going to work for. Me it didn't. I thought it was very lethargic and it just went on too long, and it was kind of like, I know a lot of people know that I don't really like the Nolan Batman films because it kind of has drained all the kind of the wit and the poetry that I love so much in Batman out of it. And the same thing happened. That's how I was feeling when I watched the final third. I felt like it was kind of going into that, and it just lost energy for me. But if it had not gone into that last big action sequence, big final act, I think this would have been one of my favorite Bonds of all time because it is really that good. And if I had to rank the three films that Daniel Craig has been in, I would put Casino Royale on top, and I would put Skyfall, just below. And then, Quantum of Solace would be, the weakest one. I mean, even though I do like it, I'm not going to, I realize that it has its problems, and it's definitely the weakest one. But being a Bond fan, anyone who is a Bond fan has to see this movie if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you have. But I highly, highly recommend it to all kinds of people who just want great escapist entertainment. What's not to like? You've got action and, girls and fast cars. It's everything you could want. So yes, definitely go see this movie. Please comment below if you have anything to say, and you can follow me on Twitter. I have the link below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.